With the NCAA transfer portal officially opening today, we've already seen two West Virginia players decide to enter, both of those coming from the offensive side. Let's go. What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Jordan Cruz back here with the Country Roads webcast. And before I get into this video, just want to give you guys a quick reminder, if you would, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button, give us a like on this video. It'll really help its performance and help future videos performances here on the channel as well. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. That being said, let's get into it. All right, so yesterday I provided you guys with a transfer portal update ahead of the NCAA transfer portal opening. We knew it was officially opening on December 5th today, and with that happening, two West Virginia Mountaineers have entered their name into that portal, both those coming from the offensive side from the Mountaineers. Let's talk about each one of those individually, starting with the one that got more playing time out of the two, and that is coming from the wide receiver room in wide receiver Reese Smith. So Reese Smith leaves the Mountaineer offense, and then not long thereafter, we also learned one that I think we kind of more so saw coming. Not that the Reese Smith one wasn't one you may have saw coming before already, due to last offseason he was kind of flirting with it, and then the coaching staff told him some things that he needed to do to come back, and then maybe he would have an expanded role. That didn't occur. So I think that maybe you could have saw the Reese Smith one coming, although it was less likely than this one that I think we all kind of saw coming, and that was Goose Crowder, the West Virginia Mountaineers quarterback. Kind of seemed like he was the odd man out between JT Daniels, Nico Marchiol, and Garrett Green, who we saw play this season. At different points, we didn't see Goose Crowder save for the game against Towson. In the spring game, though, surprisingly enough, he was the one that kind of stood out the most, so we were all interested and intrigued about what he may do this season, but turned out he was kind of the odd man out and seemed to be the one that was on the outside looking in. Ultimately decides to transfer because of that, and him and Reese Smith have now left the West Virginia Mountaineers offense. And that is the two latest Mountaineers to enter the transfer portal, bringing the total to 6 as far as transfers out for West Virginia. Let's take a look at that running graphic I'm going to have for you guys as far as transfers out and transfers in. No transfers in yet, but do have the list of transfers out here. And then I will show you guys, a transfer target list, which I shared with you guys yesterday. Added a couple updates to that. And then hopefully here soon we'll get some commits from those transfers, and we can add a transfers in graphic here to go along with our transfers out one. But let's take a look at the transfers out for West Virginia for those of you guys who may have not seen it. All right, the transfers out thus far for West Virginia, the ones that we saw earlier were defensive back Mumu Ben Wahad, tight end Corbin Page, and defensive back Charles Woods. Those were known before the end of the season. Since the season's end, we've seen tight end Mike O'Laughlin enter the portal, and then here most recently, the ones that we're talking about, of course, Reese Smith and Goose Crowder. So those are the 6 thus far transfers out. There will be more added to this list, I'm afraid, but I will update it as it happens. But in turn with that, on the plus side, there will be transfers in for West Virginia, and the transfer portal is going to be absolutely loaded with a ton of talent this offseason. Everyone is expecting it to be the most players to enter the transfer portal this offseason. It's already shown over 500 players entering here already on the first day. Here are some more transfer targets for West Virginia. If you haven't seen this list already, I'll show you again here. Let me throw this graphic up on the screen for you guys. If you've seen this list before, you may have noticed I have removed Jimmy Horn Jr., who West Virginia had offered, a wide receiver from South Florida, but he had narrowed his list down to 4 schools. West Virginia wasn't one of the 4, but West Virginia has also since offered Dante Cephas from Kent State. That's the one new addition. And CJ Dupree from Maryland, another tight end West Virginia is now in on to go along with Kyle Morlock. But just leave the graphic up here for you guys to see, as West Virginia looks like they're targeting wide receivers heavy. I think that's expected with the depth, tight end, defensive line, and then, of course, defensive back. West Virginia really needs to target some. Kenny Solomon and Montre Miller have been offered so far. The other two haven't been offered yet, but I believe West Virginia will potentially target them moving forward. But that's just kind of a look at some of the lists of potential transfer targets for West Virginia. And hopefully we'll be able to have a transfer in graphic soon, and maybe we'll get a commit from one of those names or someone else that isn't even on the list yet. But having said that, there's a look at the transfers out graphic one more time before we get out of here. Hopefully going to add some transfers in as well. Don't don't be too worried. Also want to always preface these transfer portal update videos that I'm going to do throughout the offseason by saying just because someone enters the portal doesn't mean they can't return to your school. Mike O'Laughlin, who's actually in the portal now, has been in the portal before. When Neil Brown came in, he entered, decided to return. Players can do that. Just because you're in the portal doesn't necessarily mean you have to leave. And I think especially now that is of note due to NIL going along with this. A lot of players, the rumor is potentially 1/3 of each team's roster may enter the transfer portal just to kind of sample, see what kind of offers they get. Then they may go back to their current program saying, hey, can you match this X number of dollars or whatever the offer is? And, then kind of it's almost going to be college football free agency this year. And this period just started here on December 5th. So what are your thoughts on the players that have transferred out for West Virginia? Who are some of these targets do you think that West Virginia should go after? And just your kind of thoughts in general overall of this kind of wild west that we're going to see this offseason. As I said, kind of college football free agency is what it seems like to me. That's beginning on December 5th. Are you a fan of it? I know it's kind of exciting to keep up with, and I'm going to try and keep up with it as best as I can for you guys and update you guys as these things happen with transfers out and transfers in for West Virginia. And of course, recruiting updates as signing day approaches as well. That's what you can kind of expect here on the YouTube side of things with some of these offseason West Virginia football updates. But hope you guys have enjoyed this one and hope you guys come back for further ones in the future. Drop a like if you haven't already before you head out. Hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate you here in the Country Roads webcast community that we continue to try and grow throughout Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.